Hello traders, this is the Zigzag Man, and today I'm going to talk about my buy and sell signals and how I set up my charts for swing trading. Now our example is going to be Intel Corporation, the huge computer chip maker. Anybody who trades the market has heard of them. Anybody who owns a computer has probably heard of them. It's a very popular stock with very good volume. Okay, the indicators I use that are most important to my strategy for swing trading are Bollinger Bands. Bollinger Bands have an upper Bollinger Band and a lower Bollinger Band. They're the green lines here. The Bollinger Band also has a dotted green line which signifies the middle zone of the Bollinger Band. That's also very important, but I won't get into that right now because that's a lesson in itself. I also use the 5-period moving average, the blue line, and the red line is the 15-period moving average. I always use candlestick charts because they give you a lot more information than any other type of chart. A line, mountain, all the other, there's 4 or 5 different types of charts you can load up. Okay, volume is very important. It is one of the most important indicators of all. I'll get to that in a minute. The CCI, the Commodity Channel Index, gives my primary buy and sell signals. By crossing, the buy signal is when it crosses up through the -100 line, and a sell signal happens when the CCI crosses down through the +100 line. Now stochastics moves generally with the CCI, but it has 2 lines. The black line is the fast line and the slow line is the red line. And the MACD has 3 parts, also a black fast line, a red slow line, and this blue graph here is called the histogram. Now the histogram can sometimes be what I call the headlights around the corner. It will give you a preview of what may be happening soon. This chart doesn't show it very well. There are other charts I'll show you later where I talk just about the MACD, primarily about the MACD. Okay, so this is a 6-month chart, and as you can see, Intel is what I call a channeling stock. It ranges from the mid 1850s up to the mid $20.50 range, a little bit higher here. But in 6 months, it ranges from 1850 up to about 21, back to $18, back to about 2050, back to about 1850, to about 2050, 1850 to 2150, 1895 to $21. Now I'm not going to talk about going short at this time because that's a separate lesson in itself. So we're basically going to be going with the white candles here, the uptrends. So in 6 months, let's just say that this is a $2 range each time he runs. So if you had bought 1,000 shares 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times in 6 months, and each one is worth $2, that's $2,000 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's $10,000 in a 6-month period, less than a 6-month period. Okay. Now, my theory of my strategy says you always buy at the lower Bollinger Band and you sell at the upper Bollinger Band. Buy at the lower Bollinger Band, sell at the upper Bollinger Band. He didn't quite make it here, but he got some buy signals I'll talk about in a minute. You buy at the lower, sell at the upper, buy at the lower, sell at the upper. Okay. Now, if you'll notice the volume, the biggest spikes of volume happen at tops and at bottoms. Here's a bottom with good volume. There's another bottom. Here's a top. There was no volume there, but here's a real good example of high volume at a top. Okay. And there was pretty decent volume right here at this bottom. So that's very important to remember, is to look for the, you know it's getting time to sell when you see this huge red volume day at the upper Bollinger Band. You know it's time to sell here on this huge volume day above the upper Bollinger Band. Okay, you can't really see the volume here, but it was increasing as it got closer to the bottom. Okay. So my buy and sell signals, my primary buy signal, like I said, is when the CCI crosses up through the minus 100 line. Stochastics must be totally oversold below the 20 line, and the MACD should be having a crossover where the fast line crosses up through the slow line and the histogram goes from below zero, right here this flat line is the zero where everything flattens out. So you have a triple crossover here, well, a double. You have the fast line crossing up through the slow line and the MACD histogram going from negative to positive. Okay, so that happened here. Okay, the fast line of the stochastics crossed up through the slow line and above the 20 line. The fast line of the MACD crossed up through the slow line, and the histogram crossed up through the 0 point. The same thing happened here. Right here, the CCI gave the buy signal at the lower Bollinger Band. Stochastics was well below the 20 line, and it crossed up through the 20 line, with the fast line crossing up through the slow line. Here, the MACD took a huge dip, and right here, it was a little late right here, but you still would have been in this area for a nice, at least $1.50 score on that one. Okay. You didn't get any CCI buy signals on either of these little runs, but stochastic was oversold, and you did get the MACD crossover. The histogram dropped below zero, the fast line crossed up through the slow line. Okay, on this one, you didn't quite get the CCI dropping below minus 100, but it touched it, and stochastics touched the 20 line, and the fast line crossed up through the slow line, and the histogram was below zero, and it crossed up above zero. Now the histogram is a little bit lagging sometimes. That's why I always use the CCI as my primary buy signal. Like I said, the histogram didn't give any early warning on this one. On Intel, it's a little bit late. On some stocks, it gives you plenty of warning well in advance of a turn from a downtrend to an uptrend. Right here, there was a crossover, but it was well after you would have gotten the CCI buy signal. Now here's a perfect example of a couple of head fake buy signals. I'll talk about what head fakes are more, but as you can see, when it finally did cross up through the minus 100 line, the CCI gave a buy signal. You would have been in right about this area. Stochastics was below the minus, or the 20 line. It formed a little double bottom here, which is a chart pattern. I'll talk about chart patterns later. And as you can see, the MACD dropped way down, and you got the crossover of the fast line over the slow line at the exact same time that the histogram went from negative above the zero line into positive territory. So there was a triple buy signal here, but as you can see, the MACD was again just a little bit late. Okay. Now my sell signals are just the opposite of the buy signal. A CCI sell signal is when it crosses down through the plus 100 line At the same time, stochastics should be overbought above the 80 line, and the fast line will be crossing down through the slow line, and the histogram is down ticking and crosses from positive territory into negative territory with the fast line crossing down through the slow line. Now this one was a little late because the CCI sell signal came right here, and this was a few days late. That's why I used the CCI. Here's another CCI sell signal where it gets up above the plus 100 line. Stochastics is above the 80 line with the fast line crossing down through the slow line, and the histogram is down ticking. Okay, this one gets a little jiggy right here. As you can see, the chart kind of goes up, down, but he did, I personally would have sold right here on the very first sell signal of the CCI because the stochastics was totally overbought. I mean, it wasn't totally overbought as 100, but as you can see, Intel turns back right above the 80 line. It doesn't go all the way to the 100 line. Some stocks will. Okay, so that was the initial sell signal of the CCI, and the stochastics was overbought above 80, turning down. You can see how late the MACD sell signal came. That's why I use the CCI primarily. Pretty much the same thing here. Here is the initial sell signal, okay, right about there at the upper Bollinger Band. And stochastics got higher than it usually does, and the fast line crossed down through the slow line. And look how late the MACD crossover came. That's because he got real jiggy in here. He couldn't decide which way he was going to go. Okay. So basically, those are my buy and sell signals. Another thing to notice is if a stock breaks through the middle Bollinger Band, this dotted green line, that's usually an area of resistance. Okay, when it goes up through it, it will usually go on up to the upper Bollinger Band if it can convincingly and quickly break through that middle Bollinger Band area. Okay. The same thing happens with the CCI. When a stock it's in an uptrend and it reaches the resistance of the middle Bollinger Band area, sometimes the CCI will turn back at the 0 line. Stochastics will turn back at the 50 line. Now there's no real good examples of this, but I have some other charts I'll show you later that clearly show that you could actually stay in a trade. It will also tell you to bail out when it does get to the 0 line and turns back. I don't see any real good examples of that. Okay. Now, unfortunately, the MACD for Intel is a lagging indicator. I'll show you other ones where it is actually moving ahead of the other two indicators here. So I hope you begin to understand that you buy the lower Bollinger Band when the CCI is below the minus 100 line. Stochastics is oversold below 20. You sell at the upper Bollinger Band or above it when the CCI gives the sell signal by crossing down through the plus 100 line, and you get the fast line crossing down through the slow line of stochastics where it is overbought at that point. You know, this is a real good channeling stock. I day trade mostly, but I have been swing trading Intel for the past few years, and just like McDonald's and a few other stocks, he is pretty much range bound in a very tight $2 range here for quite a while. It is showing an uptrend overall. You know, the lows are getting higher, the highs are getting higher. So that about covers Intel. I have many more charts to show you, all different kinds of setups. This one's really clear. There's others that just don't range from the lower straight up to the upper and back to the lower, and just, this was a little, I think he reported right there, and that's why he dropped that day. On high volume, he gave a bad earnings report. So this would have been a good run. About 1885 to 2135. That's $2.50, almost straight up. This would have been the best one right here, and this would have been the quickest one right here with a very clear buy signal and a very clear sell signal here. So remember, the CCI is the plus 100 line, the minus 100 line. Stochastics is the 80 line to be overbought, below 20 to be oversold. And the most important thing about the MACD is the 0 line and the fast line crossing either down through the slow line or crossing up through the slow line. And when the histogram either goes negative through 0 or positive through 0. These are all very good indicators. I use many more technical indicators on my charts, but these are the ones, these form the basis of my strategy. So I want to wish you all happy trading. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. There are many more to come. Have a great day from the Zigzag Man.